Good morning and welcome to the Wake Up to UND. My name is John Unkin. I'm the Grand Forks, East Grand Forks Chamber Board Chairman. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. One of the remarkable things today is with introducing Mark Kennedy is that he brought the biggest crowd ever for the Wake Up to UND, so we're really blessed with that, so thank you for attending. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, and their generous support in this event really helps make everything come together as you see it today. So to start out with, I'm going to talk about the sponsors and who participated today. On the presidential sponsor level, the City of Grand Forks, the Greater Grand Forks Convention Visitors Bureau, EERC, JLG Architects, UND Alumni Association and Foundation, UND College of Engineering and Mines. So thank you. Also, the academic sponsors. Our academic sponsors are AE2S, Alaris, Altru, Bremer Bank, Choice Financial, EAPC Architects and Engineers, Icon Architecture Group, Northland Community and Technical College, THI Hospitalities, UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences, Wells Fargo, and Xcel Energy. Thank you for your support. From a campus sponsorship level, we have Brady Martz and Associates, Cornerstone Mortgage, Gate City Bank, the Grand Forks Region Economic Development Corporation, Minn Kota Power Cooperative, Inc., Shields, True North Equipment, and U.S. Bank. UND and the Grand Forks, East Grand Forks business community have enjoyed a long history of working together, and UND is finishing its period of building over $160 million of new infrastructure and facilities, and soon celebrating grand openings just this month. We certainly see a bright future and numerous opportunities that lie ahead for us as a group. We have the distinct opportunity today to work with our new president, Mark Kennedy. Mark's blend of business, political, and academic experience will benefit all of us. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce President Mark Kennedy. Mark Kennedy was named the 12th president of the University of North Dakota by the State Board of Higher Education in March of 2016. Kennedy came to UND from George Washington University in Washington, D.C., where since 2012 he was the director of Graduate School of Political Management and also a professor. His teaching and research addressed issues on how organizations can engage governments, societies around the world. A native of Benson, Minnesota, Kennedy earned a BS degree at St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota, an MBA with distinction at University of Michigan Ross School of Business. He also served as an executive with several firms, those being Pillsbury and today Macy's. From 2001 to 2007, Mr. Kennedy served in the U.S. House of Representatives, first for the Minnesota 2nd District and then for its 6th District. He served on financial services, transportation, and agricultural committees and established a reputation of bipartisanship. Kennedy was then appointed to the Advisory Committee on Trade Policy and Negotiations, serving under both President George Bush and President Barack Obama. From 2007 to 2010, Kennedy served as the Global Retail Business Development Lead for Accenture, a global management consulting and technology firm. And from 2010 to 13, he lectured and led research projects at the University of Pennsylvania, Notre Dame, the London Business School, and others, and served as an executive in residence at Johns Hopkins University Carey Business School. Kennedy is the founder of the Economic Club of Minnesota and a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and Chatham House, an independent policy institute based in London. He founded the Mark Kennedy Frontiers of Freedom lecture series at St. John's University. Mark, we look forward to your Eye on the Hawk lecture series at UND. Kennedy also has a book tentatively titled Engaging to Win, When to Cooperate and When to Compete, Succeeding at Both. It will be published by Columbia House Business School Press in the spring of 17. In it, he introduces the concept of shapeholders to the field of business. A shapeholder is a political, regulatory, media, or activist actor who has no stake in the organization's success, but great ability to shape its opportunities and risks. Kennedy is the third generation of his family to live in North Dakota. His grandmother helped homestead their place just outside of Tioga in the early 1900s. His parents lived in Galva and Hunter, North Dakota, during which time his older sister was born in Fargo. Now on to his wife, First Lady Debbie Kennedy. Debbie is a native of Holly, Minnesota. They met, just by the way, at Minnesota State Fair as 4-H ambassadors, and I remember 4-H really well myself. Debbie graduated from the North Dakota State University with a double major in home economics, textile, and clothing, and a master's from Georgetown University in costume design. They have 4 adult children. Now with that, President Kennedy has energized the UND campus, the community, with the theme of One UND. There is one student group that lives this theme and inspires all of us to join in.
1, 2, 3, 4. The Varsity Gentleman, we are a student organization, a student-led group.
We're kind of a hodgepodge of male singers. We do pop songs, barbershop, all sorts of stuff.
We meet outside of class, we don't get any credit. We do Greek events, we do things around UND, we do things around the public schools in town, we go to Fargo, we go across the state. To nail a song with this group is, it's really special.
You can hear chords being hit and entrances being nailed, and you can see the look on people's faces.
Performing at Convocation was definitely new for us.
If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman?
We got a lot of positive feedback. We got an article in the paper by President Kennedy.
So there's the diversity that we talked about brought together in harmony that you saw on stage is an example of the life that we are hoping to engender for you here at the University of North Dakota.
Music is really the glue that brings all of our communities together because we have different majors in this group from all across. We wouldn't see each other normally would it not be for this group.
Convocation was a blast.
We want to really be involved in the community and make a positive impact on people's lives.
The Varsity Gentleman, we're primarily a charity group. We sing for Sanford Children's Health in Fargo, probably our most important feature. When you've got a purpose like that important, that's what really drives the group to do what we like to do.
We just come together. We build this camaraderie over the years, and it's like a group of brothers.
We are the Varsity Gentlemen. We are one UND. We are Mamba way. We are Mamba way. 1, 2, shumba dumba wimmo wet, a 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 wimmo way, wimmo wet, a 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 wimmo way. In the jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. A wimmo wet, 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 a wimmo way, wimmo wet, a 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 wimmo way. In the lion sleeps tonight. In the village, the peaceful village, the lion sleeps tonight. A wimmo wet, 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 a wimmo way, wimmo wet, a 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 wimmo way. Shumba doomba doomba wa. Hush, my darling, don't fear, my darling, the lion sleeps tonight. Hush, my darling, don't fear, my darling,
the lion sleeps tonight. The lion sleeps tonight.
Thank you, guys. Great job. Great job. Love second bases, love tenors. Let's give the Varsity Gentleman one more round of applause. What talent we have here at the University of North Dakota. Thanks, everybody, for getting here. I hope, like the lion, you are not asleep and you're awake, because we have a lot to cover here this morning. I've orchestrated this presentation just for you, reinforced exclusively with my own photos, to shed light on what I have heard, what I've learned from listening for the last 30 days here at the University of North Dakota and around the state. I've been grilling and chilling with staff and faculty at the President's House. I've been coffees with Kennedy. This is a pretty big coffee with Kennedy right here. We've been on road trips around the state, and I'm heading out west later on today. We've had a new faculty and bus tour going out to the far reaches, including Theodore Roosevelt National Park. I've been meeting with future students. We're always optimistic, welcoming new students, and meeting with current students, meeting with faculty, meeting with research centers. And what have I heard, other than that not everybody thinks that we ought to be keeping the Sioux uniforms just in the museum? What have I heard? I've heard a lot of things. Some of it been good, some of it been a little bit wicked, as you perhaps read in the front page of the Herald today in a survey taken last March. But I believe that if we focus on the future, if we come together like we just heard, that we can have whatever wicked thoughts we have fade away, and that we can have a positive focus on the future. I was inspired when at convocation I first heard the Varsity Gentleman, because what you saw here today is you heard 13 different voices, each saying something different, but in harmony in a way that it created beautiful music and a beautiful sound. And that's really our goal here today. You know, I perhaps really was attached to them because I think my first time in Grand Forks was coming here with the St. John's Men's Chorus, a similar group. Yes, I'm the one with the good head of hair up on the top. We were all students once. We have to keep reminding ourselves, particularly in this profession. And I learned early that you needed to get along. I'm one of 7. This is the daughter, my sister that was born in Fargo's first communion. Don't I look really like an academic in that nice bow tie down there in the corner? So our goal here is to harmonize the many diverse elements that represent UND into one UND. We do that in a number of different ways. First of all, in academia, we have something we call collaborative governance. But I think, again, the voices you heard are a good example for that. I was the second bass, that low one over here that had that little short solo, singing at the low end. But I had to pay attention to what the first tenor, like the lead singer was, or the second tenor, or the first bass were singing. They were all singing different notes and different notes than what I sang. But I had to make sure I was listening to them. Even though I was singing a different note, it needed to be in harmony with the other notes. That's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make sure that we have our University Senate, which encompasses faculty, staff, and students, join together, working with me in a collaborative way that we can lead UND into the future. Next, we need to have a plan. We need to have a vision as to where we're all going. And again, that plan will be bringing together a wide group of diverse voices, but hopefully harmonizing those. I've set 2 persons to lead that plan, and let's hear from Dana and Lori.
Hello, I'm Dana Harsel, Associate Professor of Political Science and Public Administration, and this year's Chair of University Senate.
And I'm Lori Betting, Interim Vice President for Student Affairs.
We serve as co-chairs of the UND strategic planning process that includes nearly 50 representatives from across the campus, faculty, staff, and students, as well as alumni and the community.
We are working hard together to harmonize our respective perspectives in ways that generate a collaborative strategic plan for UND that will provide a vision and a future path that we can all get behind.
A strategic plan that will maximize UND's strengths and provide direction for every unit on campus.
A strategic plan that lifts the university to the next level and guides us to an even brighter, more robust future where we will flourish as one UND.
So we've got a great group of leaders, but we also have a plan in front of us as to how we create that plan. These two are heading a steering committee of about a dozen, but then there's a strategic planning committee of 50 that you just heard about that. But then this is one of the examples of the outreach we're trying to do to get a broader input into what our plan should be. So I encourage you, after I give you a short summary, to go to one of the 50 members of the strategic planning committee that I know are listed in the Herald. What we're thinking about now is to have a purpose, to be the chief opportunity engine for North Dakota and North Dakotans. We're thinking that we want to have a vision of being the premier flagship in the Northern Plains. And sometimes there's confusion as to what is a flagship, so let me take a second. A flagship is referred to as the liberal arts, professional education, research institution in a state. They are typically referred to as the University of Idaho, Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming are examples. There is also a land-grant university in most states that are the agriculture, applied sciences, ag extension, research institution. They are typically referred to as the state name state, as in Montana State, North Dakota, and South Dakota State. Most states have both and need both, and they both play important roles. We're trying to be the premier flagship in this region. But what does that mean? What are the metrics we use to judge? Are we achieving that end? And that's why we're going through and thinking about a variety. These are some draft in the 3 missions that we have of teaching, research, and service. In teaching, measuring accreditation, retention, graduation rate, employment for our students, best practices for teaching, the number of endowed professors. We're ultimately looking at good outcomes, great outcomes for our students. And as a liberal arts institution, we want to make sure that they have the kind of liberal arts base that allows them not to just be prepared for their first job, but a lifetime of jobs. Because with the technology changing things as much as it is, we know that most of our students are not going to just be on one career path, but on many, and we want to prepare them for that. We are also focused on research, whether it be tracking research dollars, the publishing our professors do, the kind of external distinctions we get, or R1 status. R1 status, what's that? Well, Carnegie, besides building a lot of libraries, including here on campus, classifies research institutions. Out of the more than 4,000 universities and colleges in this country, there's only 350 that are classified as research institutions. And they classify those, Carnegie does, by R1, R2, R3. Both UND and NDSU are currently classified as R2, but there are 115 R1 universities in the country. I, for one, think that North Dakota should have one of those. Let's compare ourselves just quickly to University of Nebraska, which is an R1 institution. Yes, Nebraska's a little bit bigger. Yes, Lincoln's a little bit bigger than Grand Forks. We actually have more per capita income here in North Dakota. But I think the clincher is that Nebraska doesn't have any oil. We are the number 2 oil-producing state in the union. I believe that we can afford to fund a number 1 research university, and I think there's nothing that would be better for the long-term future of North Dakota. We also need to do that because we are right here in a day of technological changes that is bringing our students right here in Grand Forks the availability of masters from any school around the world online. We need to be the best, and this research informing our teaching helps us to be the best. And it also allows us to have strong graduate programs. We do have over 3,000 people here studying doctorates and masters, and I think that's an area we can grow, particularly as we continue to double down on our focus on our research and publishing. Finally, service is another important element of any university, and we believe that. So measuring what kind of impact do we have on economic development, the service grants that we bring in, the service to society. It's important to point out these numbers are a little old, but to remind us that we have a $1.3 billion impact on North Dakota, provide nearly 3,400 secondary jobs. Our students spend about $137 million here in Grand Forks every year. 2/3 of the family doctors in North Dakota come from our medical school. We send energy engineers out to the Bakken, and 69% of North Dakotans that graduated from high school here and went to UND are still in North Dakota. But we also, the committee went and talked about preliminary ideas about core values. The ideas that they came up with, first and foremost, included just what we're talking about today: collaboration and connectiveness, what brings us together. They also talked about innovation, creativity, and discovery being core values of the university, and I couldn't agree more. Because when you look at us, we're founded with the motto of light and law, founded to shed light on new avenues, on new discoveries, on new ways of doing things, and try to provide some order to that. Let's just take aviation. Carl Ben Eilson was one of our graduates, was the first person to fly over the North Pole. His name is on the Eilson Air Force Base in Alaska. We continued that tradition of innovation, shedding light in aviation, with John D. Odegaard and our Odegaard School, but that continues on today with what we are doing on unmanned system. So let's hear from Paul and Grant as to what kind of an impact
Hi, I'm
that
Grant
has.
Jimsey.
And I'm Paul Linseth.
You all know that the unmanned aircraft systems, the UAS Enterprise, has really taken off at UND.
From developing the nation's first degree program in UAS and graduating the nation's first graduates,
to research and development in converting UAS imaging data into actionable information for monitoring power networks and agricultural production, to developing sense and avoid technologies, human factors related research, and even wildlife management.
the UAS Enterprise continues to expand on the UND campus and beyond, including our friends at Northland Community Technical College, NDSU, and Lake Region State College.
The UAS Enterprise has fueled economic development too, with the creation of Grand Sky UAS Business Park that has attracted companies like Northrop Grumman and General Atomics. Locally, UND has helped grow companies like Skyscopes and Edge Data.
That's the power of collaboration, the power of working together to make Grand Forks, with UND at the epicenter, the Silicon Valley of UAS.
That's the power of one UND.
And that is the way we create opportunity. We'll be talking about one Grand Forks here later on, but we can't help but recognize Colonel Lewis here and the important place that the Air Force Base plays in our leadership in unmanned aircraft. So let's give Colonel Lewis a warm welcome. You know, when they were talking about Silicon Valley of drones right here in North Dakota, that just wasn't something they made up. That's something that the New York Times identified the opportunity we have here today, and it's an example of how we create opportunity, another core value. But we also create opportunity in the Bakken. And when you look at what's happened in the Bakken, with the significant increase in oil production that really helped fuel a lot of the prosperity here in North Dakota, that came from the research, in part, right here at the University of North Dakota. And when you look at what the EERC and other parts of the university are doing on coal gasification and carbon capture, that is going to have a significant impact on our ability to tap our energy resources here, as well as deal with environmental concerns. So let's also hear from Hisham and Tom.
Hello, I'm Hisham Arwini, Dean of the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines.
And I'm Tom Erickson, head of the University of North Dakota Energy and Environmental Research Center.
Energy in all of its forms is vital to North Dakota and its economy, to our national interest, and to the global society as a whole. That's why we are engaged in educating the next generation of energy experts who will help North Dakota sustain and grow its diverse energy industry.
And that is why, along with our colleagues at the College of Engineering and Mines, we are focused on the research and development of environmentally responsible technologies for the production and utilization of North Dakota's vast energy resources. This research is enhancing the recovery of Bakken oil, advancing the production of low-cost energy from coal, integrating renewable resources, demonstrating methods of capturing, utilizing, and storing carbon dioxide, and protecting our incredible air, water, and soil resources.
Together, our faculty, staff, and students at the College of Engineering and Mines and our colleagues at the ERC are pushing the boundaries of energy education and research. Along with our industry partners in North Dakota, across the U.S., and around the world, we are making a significant impact in the field of energy and clean technologies.
Working together as one UND. That's what makes our university the chief opportunity engine for North Dakota and North Dakotans.
And we are committed to continuing to bring forth that opportunity here in North Dakota. Another core value that was identified is inclusiveness and welcoming. And again, something that's core to what we are as the University of North Dakota. I'm very impressed by the fact that of our first graduating class, 6 of the 8 of that class in 1889 were women. And it was nearly a century before the Ivy League even started to accept women into their classes. We also had Ron Davies, our alum, that was the judge that had the Little Rock decision to integrate schools there, bringing, again, more welcoming. Eric Bell Thompson was not only an athlete at our university, but went on to be the editor at Ebony Magazine. And today, 1 out of 5 American Indian medical doctors across the U.S. graduated from our medical school. The other core value they identified was being global. You might not think of it as global, but if you look back through our history, we have a long tradition. Fritz Pollard was an athlete here, but also won a bronze medal at the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, even though Hitler and his henchmen were trying to keep out the African Americans from coming into those Olympics. And then he went on to be the director of overseas schools for the State Department after that. Our own Chester Fritz, that funded 2 premier buildings here on campus, really was one of the first to go out to parts of China and the first to be actively trading with China, helping to create the wealth that he reinvested back in his university. Lifelong learning is the last element that they preliminarily identified as a core value, and I can't agree more. I was just with our extended learning team yesterday and learning what they're doing, and I have to say that I personally think that master's degrees are for grandmas too. As we see Debbie and our first grandchild here at her graduation earlier this year at George Washington University. But then we need to have strategies. If those are our metrics, if those are our core values, how are we going to achieve those? And that's where there's probably going to be 7, 8, 9 subcommittees that the Strategic Planning Committee will form and launch here very soon. Perhaps some of you will be on those to help define, okay, if that's what we want to achieve, how do we achieve it? What investments do we need to make? The whole goal of this process is to get all these diverse ideas, to get us all channeled together towards a common vision, towards the future. That's really where we as one UND make the most impact, create the most opportunity. Let's go to the next issue that's perhaps there's a little disharmony on right now, and that's athletics. You've heard a lot of conversation about athletics. I have to say that having come from St. John's, our coach John Gallardi would always say athletics is the front porch to a university. It's what invites everybody in, and from there they get to see all the great academic programs and other offerings we have at the university. I believe that, but I believe that the strategic benefit that athletes play is best done when we win championships. We're used to winning championships here. We've won 12 national championships in 3 different sports. I don't think many universities in the country can claim that much success. And I think we've seen with the great win on Saturday that we can win championships even today and more than just hockey. So let's give our football team and Bubba a round of applause. They all told me they could have wrapped it up in the 3rd quarter, but they just really wanted to give us a little bit more excitement by stretching it into the 4th. But really, as with anything, success requires focus. And right now, we're debating what conference do we want to be in. We're also recognizing that there's a number of sports where we have some competitive advantages. Not just the Ralph Engelstad Arena, but the strong support of the Engelstad family in men's and women's hockey. The Betty provides a great venue for both of our basketball programs and our volleyball programs. And with the new High Performance Center, that really gives us an added edge in football, track and field, and cross country. But really, we have to make sure that we are providing all of our athletic programs that we can sponsor at what we can afford, the kind of championship support that they need, so that we can be in this situation where you have 6 guys at my daughter's wedding watching a football game on their little screen while I'm paying for the hors d'oeuvres. They're watching the other UND at Notre Dame, but I'm confident with the right amount of focus on the teams that we can support at a championship level, that we can have championships across the board and winning programs across the board. Brand is something that we've been struggling with for a while. How do we solve the disharmony we've had over the brand and come together in a harmonious future. We will be, at the end of this academic year, retiring the interlocking ND that formed the bridge that helped us go from one brand to another, and that will go to our heritage collection after that. As we order new uniforms, they'll be moving towards the new Hawks logo that I think is increasingly getting attention and usage here on campus. And the court, the other uniforms, whatever the court dress will follow the uniform dress. We will then be back to two brands as we've always had, an academic brand and an athletics brand. And as the branding becomes more important to us, we're going to make sure that that branding discipline across the university is maintained so that we have one color of green for our Hawks and not two color of green. If you saw the recent announcement we made about our marketing and our branding efforts, this is part of their charge. On the marketing and communications front, there's more we can do, and again, we've reorganized marketing and communications recently to make sure we're delivering this more energetically. One of the things that's a key concern to me, and perhaps should be to you, is that we do not yet have a mobile-friendly website. If you look on your left, Nebraska is a mobile-friendly website, makes it easy for students to research universities, apply, and enroll, whereas our website is still made for a PC. And it's much harder to navigate all those little buttons on your phone. That's key in that today's generation, you're always seeing them on their phone. We need to make sure that we look like we're hip, modern, and with it for them, and that we're delivering the kind of website that they need. That is something we are energetically pursuing as we speak. We've got a great class this year. Our class is the 4th year in a row where we have a higher GPA, the 5th year in a row where we have a higher ACT. My belief is once we get a better job of presenting ourselves electronically to the world, we're going to be attracting even better and more students in the future. That's why this effort is so important. We're also going to be bringing out a new bi-weekly publication, electronic publication called UND Today that will bring 4 to 5 great articles to you twice a week that will be talking about the great things that are happening on campus, explaining the decisions that are made on campus, talking about the wonderful things that are resulting from the investment the state and our donors make in our university, and profiling our faculty on key issues of the day. So you'll be able to sign up for this once it comes out. Please do. Next, turn to our campus. We also have a little disharmony in our campus because we don't have the full range in the middle. We have new or old. We got some beautiful new buildings, and we thank the legislature and everybody for the support of our new School of Medicine and Health Sciences that will be doing the ribbon cutting on here soon. We got a fabulously newly remodeled law school, and I could go on through several other buildings. But if you look at the rest of the university has an average age of 50 years. And we have, according to a recent campus study, $500 million, that's 4 medical schools, of deferred maintenance. Not nice new briny, shiny buildings, but roofs that need to get fixed, plumbing, air conditioning that needs to be installed, electricity that needs to be modernized. That needs to be done and has been deferred for too long. So we're going to need to go after this energetically along with the plan. That's going to force us to whittle down that $500 million, ask questions like, why are we in the steam plant business? Can we have somebody else be doing that for us? Removing some of the old buildings that we just don't have the money to reinvest. If we were Harvard with $3 billion of endowment as opposed to $300 million of endowment, we could do that. But we can't really with the resources we have, and therefore we're going to need a focus. This is going to require asset sales. It's going to require public-private partnership. It's going to require asking the state for more money. It's going to be looking for donations to remodel rooms and buildings, and it's going to require reinvesting the savings we get on having less maintenance. It's going to need to be an all of the above for us to really bring this campus up to the fit and finish that you would expect from the premier flagship in the region. We are focused as our 2 most important things that we've already gotten approval for private donations to fund, the Chester Fritz Library to remodel that, as well as Gamble Hall. But I've also toured the locker rooms for the football. There are 5 logos behind. That gives you an example of just how old our football facilities are. And again, for our program, something that needs to be addressed on. And finally, I think we really need to look at our housing stock. The 50s called and they want their housing back. So there's a lot of public-private partnerships that can happen with upgrading some of our existing housing stock on campus, which also, when you look at things like retention rate, The quality of housing on campus makes a big difference in that. So we need to energetically look at that as well. And we'll be launching soon a new planning committee for the campus that will incorporate many people from the community. I'd also like to point out that there's a little disharmony going on right now with our design elements. If you look at the best universities, those universities that we would want to emulate, they have a look. If you go to Stanford, all the buildings are this yellow stone and the red tile roof. You know that you're not at Stanford when you see this, you're at Harvard, and you know that this is not Harvard, because each has their own look, and if you look at the best universities around the world, that's the case. We've had a look, and that look is called Gothic, Collegiate Gothic, where you have battlement roofings, you have the low arch over the doors, you have the coining alongside the doors and windows, and you have sconce lamps. So if you look at many of our buildings on campus, here's Abbott Hall with that low arch, with the sconce, with the Gothic writing. You look at the law school with the coining around the windows. You look at the battlements, in this case over Johnstown. We have those really throughout the university, and when we've remodeled, at times, we've also followed that. Here's the education building remodel, where you have many of those elements, including the coined windows. And we've even done it on our parking ramps, where again, you'll see the battlement on the top, you'll see the low arches, and even when you come out of the car. So if we can do this on parking ramps, we can really do this across the university. And I think as we modernize the university and keep to this look, this style, we're going to come off more as one of those premier universities that understands the look they're trying to generate. We're only going to be able to do this as one Grand Forks. We're going to need to not only have the university together, we're going to need to have the community together. With the air base and the city, we have a great reputation with the city, and our mayor has a great reputation. I don't know if you recognize, but just recently, he was recognized as the outstanding, the one of one, most outstanding public official in the state of North Dakota. So let's give Mayor Brown a round of applause. And he hurried back from Bismarck to get that award, to come to the game, and we were behind when he came in, and as soon as he came to the game, we scored all those points in a row, so we appreciate the good luck charm that you provide as well. But we have a lot of them. I'm not going to say everyone here, and I apologize for that. I haven't been everywhere yet, but I hope to be. The All True, making our high performance center come true. AE2S, helping us with our engineering program. We've also had the Rydells, Lithia, Hugo's, providing great support to our athletic programs, and we're doing a lot of research with Minn Kota Power. So the people throughout Grand Forks have been very good to us, and we appreciate that very much. And we're only going to be able to be who we want to be with that continued cooperation. But we also need to be one North Dakota. One North Dakota, we have a symbiotic relationship. One example is our medical school, where we have nearly 1,200 voluntary faculty members, 2 out of 3 physicians across the state. That's a record for any state that are serving as voluntary faculty for our medical school, part of what makes it so great. But in return, we have a whole number of programs bringing rural health programs, whether it be mobile surgery vans, or a surgeon on loan program, or the Roan program, or many others. So we have that good back and forth where we're giving and we're receiving. But we also need to make sure that we're playing well with our other neighbor universities. So on our, this is honest to God truth, on our tour around the state, we came upon a bison that just stood right in front of us. Now, we decided not to run it over, and we were able to get it off the road without having to say, "Go bison." And when I was in Oklahoma City, on the menu they had bison pot roast po' boy, and I didn't want to be disrespectful, so I didn't order that. And some might say our goal is to have a bison head up on our fireplace mantle, but we're saying that's not our goal. Our goal is to collaborate with them, because we're only going to achieve the goals we want to achieve as one UND. And that's why on that faculty and staff tour, we stopped by Carrington, where we highlighted the cooperation between our 2 universities on us working on the unmanned system on agricultural applications. We also recently launched a joint Masters of Health program with NDSU, and we're working in a collaborative fashion with NDSU and other universities around the state on some cyber programs to make sure that we're addressing those significant needs. So we, working together, are going to be stronger than working apart. But we also have to make sure we're one USA. And the fascinating thing and the confirmation of the great things we have going on here is that we have people that have no attachment to North Dakota, no attachment to University of North Dakota, stepping forward and helping us because they recognize just how good our programs are. If you look at in the engineering and mining area, Harold Hamm, who's been an innovator from Oklahoma in the energy space, has stepped forward and contributed $10 million for our geology program and really helped put us on the map with petroleum engineering. We've also received great support from Hess, again, not a North Dakota company, but significant North Dakota presence. If you look at Robin Hall, the first UAS building that we have here on campus, James Ray, Clay Lacey, Joe Clark, none of those are UND graduates, none of those are from North Dakota, but they have seen the great work we're doing here and stepped forward. So when you put it all together as one Grand Forks, one North Dakota, one USA, I'm confident that if we all just learn to play well together, play as a team, each playing our own part, that we'll have many things to celebrate and many reasons to give high fives to each other as we go on as one UND to achieve great things. Thank you so much. Let's hear some more harmonious voices.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, and the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed no tears, just as long as you stand by me.
'Cause you're way too beautiful, girl. That's why it'll never work. You have me suicidal when you say it's over, man. All these beautiful girls, they only want to do you dirt. They'll have you suicidal when they say it's over. See, it started at the heart, but chill out the dark. When you took my heart, when we fell apart, 'cause we both thought that love lasts forever. They say we're too young to get ourselves sprung. Oh, we didn't care. We made it very clear, and they also said that love doesn't last forever. See, it's very defined, girl, one of a kind, but you mush up my mind. You walk to get declined, oh love.